So, hello panel, how are you?
Very good.
All good? All good. So we have got Guy from Archipelago, we've got Peadar, also from Archipelago, and we've got Patrick Smith from the University of Sheffield, and we've got Dorinda Gibbons with us today. And we're all going to talk about how to encourage graduates to come into the inkjet industry. So I'm going to start with you, Guy. Sorry. So, can you tell us, what do you do to attract young people into your company specifically?
Sure. Well, perhaps I should start off by saying that when I got into Inkjet, it was kind of an accident. I was 21, I was looking for a job, and I went to the Market Square in Cambridge. There was no internet. I went to the job centre and said, have you got a job? They said, there's a little company down the A45 that make these yoghurt pot markers. They're looking for somebody. And so, for 6 weeks, I cycled down what is now the A14 to Domino, and it was an experience that completely transformed my life. I worked with the CEO, and they were just moving from having a huge, big Domino printer to having a little desktop printer. And it was transformational for me, but it was actually transformational for Domino as well, because unbelievable as it may seem, they didn't actually have, apart from the CEO, they didn't have a single graduate in the company. And so I learned, and they learned, and this planted many, many seeds in my head. And when I started Archipelago 10 years ago, it was very natural for me to, pardon me.
We'll talk about that later, Guy.
Very natural for me to continue that process, and I'd forgotten actually that Charlie Stokes, who many of you will know, actually came on. We hired her as a short-term employee. She went on to work with us for 4 years and was one of the inventors of Power Drop. But in terms of what we do and how we do it, why we do it, we've been running this for 10 years. We have been getting young people, and by young I mean 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, into the business. And we do it on a huge scale. And then in the last 2 months, we've just hired 3 people, of which Peadar is one. We've just hired 3 people under 30 in the last 2 months. So it's a big deal for us.
So you obviously love it because you're still in the industry. It's obviously a big commitment that you do. What do you get out of it as a company? So why are you doing this?
Well, we get a lot out of it. We get a whole range of things out of it. I mean, just seeing how these people grow in 8 weeks is a big deal. I was just saying to Dorinda that we had a year in industry student, and we had a really tough problem. And I said to Dan, well, let's get Salim to do it. And it was getting us through ISO 9001. And I said, well, just get the guy in, tell him what we want him to do, and see how he gets on. You would not believe what this 22-year-old did. He took us through the entire ISO 9001 process. And once he had that confidence, and we had that confidence that you could give people these jobs, again, I was just saying to Dorinda, we had another student, Dea, who joined us. Many of you will know Rafa. We gave her Rafa's big high-speed camera, and with the combination of this camera and learning that she could tell Dan and I that we were wrong, she was just away. We said, why don't you do this? She said, well, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. So in terms of what we get out, we see these people grow hugely in 8 weeks, and we get really good work out of them.
That's fantastic. I mean, there's obviously a lot of talent out there, and we'll talk a bit later about how we can attract that into the business. But do you feel that you're unique in what you do? Do you feel other people are doing this in the industry?
I think other people do it a bit. I mean, Angus is looking at me a little askance, but Zara do it a bit. I would say not quite as much as us, but they do it a bit, and I think they get quite a bit out of it. I think Simon is here, Simon Daplin, I think I saw here. I think Sun do it a bit, but I think we do it a lot more than everybody else.
Okay, fantastic. So this leads me on to Peadar. So Peadar, you obviously work with Guy. Can you share with us a little bit of sort of how did you end up working with Guy? What was the process?
So yeah, I'm a fluids mechanical engineering graduate. I actually lived here in Churchill 6 months ago as a student, so wasn't expecting myself to be here as on a panel, but here I am. So I have passion, kind of hobbies in designing racing drones and FDM 3D printers, but also here I am in Inkjet. So as part of a university course requirement, you have to do an internship. And as students, you see internships as an opportunity to gain skills. And so for me, being fluids and mechanical, Inkjet was a natural industry to gain skills. I didn't necessarily see it as a final job. It was an industry where I thought I could gain skills. And I think internships represent a really important step for companies to get students, as because A, it's a course requirement, and B, universities advertise companies that offers internships. So I'm currently interviewing interns for Archipelago for next summer. All 8 of the applicants came from the university's database and found us through this university database. So getting your company names onto university databases as places that offer internships is the main way to communicate to students that yes, we are looking for graduates, we're looking for interns, and then internships also allow you to build a partnership and a confidence, because for a job to work, it's ultimately a partnership in skills and knowledge between both the employee and the employer. You need there to be a match and there needs to be confidence. So when I emailed Guy in June looking for a job, I felt confident that because I'd done an internship with them 2 years before, that I enjoyed the work environment, I believed in their vision, I believed in the company, and similarly Guy could similarly go to me, employ me without the risk of being, well, am I going to like this guy, or is this, a high risk?
Okay, fantastic. So you've sort of already answered the next question I was going to ask. I was going to ask what was appealing about this particular sort of opportunity with Guy, but like you said, I think you worked with them before and you could see that there were skills that you could learn. But if there's someone who hasn't had that, what makes it sort of easier to find the right role?
So I'm actually going to start with the opposite of saying Inkjet is boring, stale technology. Why on earth as a graduate would I want to go into Inkjet? It's a desktop plastic printer. I'm a graduate looking for looking for an aspiring career. Why would I go into Inkjet, right? And I think this is a question that we really, as employers and companies, you need to ask, because I've asked my friends, or I tell people I work in Inkjet, they're like, that's a bit dull, isn't it? And ultimately, now that I'm in it and have worked in it and had an internship opportunity to experience it, I realised that actually Inkjet is a lot more than that and is moving into so many new green industries. So for me at Archipelago, I'm developing the technology to enable paper packaging, which is a massive industry, which is growing. It's really exciting. It's having, I believe having a really big impact, which is exactly as a graduate engineer, you're looking to go into the world and make an impact, develop new sustainable technologies. So I think there needs to be a really big discussion about how we change the preconceptions of Inkjet, especially among graduates. So that's the question I'd ask. Okay, perfect. So I guess one way just to cap that is just to say that maybe it's about tapping into, the sustainability of Inkjet maybe, or, that things are getting greener, and sort of try and appeal to young people who are looking to change the way we're ruining the planet by just tapping into those sort of messages maybe. Yeah, and I think the other example I'll give is, you look at other industries that probably have a higher success rate and a more positive image is additive manufacturing. You go around any university in the UK, they will have a society where students are willingly, as a hobby, playing with additive manufacturing, designing and inventing additive manufacturing technology. And fundamentally, it's no different to the inkjet industry. The inkjet industry is additive manufacturing in binder jet, yet, as graduates, you don't know that. So I think additive manufacturing is an industry that Inkjet could really learn from in terms of inspiring the new generation that this is actually a really exciting, revolutionary technology, just as much as AM. So that would be my piece. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I think we'll move on now and we'll speak to Patrick. So Patrick, can you share a little bit more about what the industry needs to look out for when attracting young people, in your opinion?
Well, I just want to add a little bit to what Peadar said there as well with additive manufacture and the difference between additive and inkjet. If you buy a small-scale inkjet printer, you can actually print something useful. If you buy a small-scale additive manufacturing machine, you'll print something plastic which will gather dust and eventually go into landfill. And in my own lectures, when I talk to people about inkjet printing, I really make a big issue about the sustainability. You have a very adaptive, versatile technology which will give the customer what you want. And it's growing and evolving into new directions. I mean, 10 years ago, haptic print wasn't there. And haptic print at the bottom line is 3D technology. So there we go. So to answer your question, and in true academic fashion, I haven't. I've given you something else instead. I should be a politician. But to answer that, what industry needs to be aware of is there is an academic cycle. And our students, they do have a priority a lot of the time, and that is to pass their exams. And so they have to be on campus at certain times of the year. And there is a certain cycle that we go through. And that can be quite restrictive because, of course, business demand surfaces and what have you. But I will add as well that with the year and industry students that I work with, it's extremely rewarding first to have the students back, because usually they have a very clear idea of how to run a project. They usually have a very clear idea then of the destination they're going to as well. So it is something that I think that we could work on a lot better. And maybe from the university's perspective, we could do that better as well. But it's finding the right vehicle to do that. The lecture I talked about is my first year lecture. And really what I want to be talking about is in the third year, when they're just a year from graduating. And that would be the right time to hit people. By the fourth year, they're ready to graduate and they've already got a destination in mind. Certainly our graduates, something like 95% of them have already got a destination in mind before they graduate. So if you want to think realistically, with a 4-year degree programme, it's your third years you want to speak to. With a 3-year degree programme, it's the second years you want to talk to. Yeah.
Okay,
one final point. You were lucky when you went to Cambridge Job Centre, asked for a job, because they just gave me a mop and a bucket. There you go.
So basically, we obviously know what the industry needs and what has to happen, but do you feel there are sort of barriers to communicating that to the companies who are trying to attract the talent?
I think the biggest issue is our students arrive. I'm in the mechanical engineering department, and that's because I'm a chemist. I think the issue is our graduates, when they arrive, our students when they arrive, have visions of where they're going to go, and it's going to be an exciting career. Now, Inkjet is an exciting career because you have so many different disciplines, so many different challenges, and you're also in an industry which is actually quite strong, and it's actually, important for Europe. So we have people who think, oh yeah, I'm going to be in Formula One, or I'm going to build machines that make machines, and it's kind of like, well, actually you can do a lot of this in Inkjet, and it's getting across the fact that actually it's a very glamorous industry, because we actually produce graphics, and they are all around us. I mean, there's a chance that the carpet's been printed, but you don't see that, and it's getting across the fact that the thing that fundamentally makes us human is this ability to create, and to create well and reliably so you can trust it, and that's what we're doing in Inkjet. And so it's just getting across that there's a lot, it's not a staid industry. As Peadar says, you have this preconception that it might be staid, but it's not. There's a lot of areas where it's touching society, making real differences. And I say in my lecture, the thing is as a British person, you sort of think, oh yeah, if it was so good, why hasn't anyone got one? There's billions of printers in the world. There is a good technology, and it's so good that we overlook it, because we've taken it for commonplace, and we just need to get across that actually this is what's so good about it.
So talking about the applications and what they're doing for society, rather than talking about the boring technology and how things work. And
we're also getting across the range of disciplines you get as well. There's lots of different challenges, and there's lots of ways in for graduates from different disciplines. But it will suit the graduate who likes new challenges and is not afraid to step out of their discipline. If you get somebody who's very mechanical and maybe very mechatronical, they might not think, I don't really like chemistry. But it suits that sort of person who's always looking for a new challenge, because there's lots of different areas where you can make a difference.
Okay, so leading on from that, what advice could you give Inkjet companies who are looking to work with students? So what could they do, and how can they lay the foundations to say, okay, these people want a successful career in Inkjet, for example?
I think we have some existing vehicles we just need to make more use of. So like the year industry works really well, and I know students really like it, I know companies really like it, because it's basically a year-long job interview. We can have final year projects whereby, and again the students like that because they have an industry relevant project which looks good in the CV. No, I'm always looking at you, but I should be looking at everyone else here. So there's that as well. So I think it's just making more use of that. I think we have good infrastructure there. I mean, if we went really, really ambitious, the biggest ambitious project would be a centre for doctoral training, where you have a cohort of about 20 PhDs. The big advantage would be these PhDs would be working on topics which would really help you, but then they get the skills, and then you've got somebody who's highly specialised, looking for a job, and you sort of think, well, you could actually do a job which you've just got specialised in over the last 3 years. So in essence, you've sort of shoehorned them into a career. But also, you're getting that additional benefit because you're getting new research from that as well. So that's the big ambitious one. The easy wins are student year projects, final year projects. They're the easy ones. And then the middle ground is the industry. So I think we've got the vehicles, it's just making more use of it. And how we raise that profile is a talk from Peadar to sort of say, I was where you were a couple of years ago, this is what I'm really liking about it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Patrick. So now we'll move on to Dorinda. Hi, Dorinda. So Dorinda runs a recruitment agency specifically in the inkjet sector, I believe. And so my question to you is, what does the inkjet industry as a whole need to do to attract graduates?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all awake after lunch and after our talk. I think a lot of people today have been talking about collaboration. It's been mentioned at least 4 or 5 times this morning. But we really do need to collaborate more. This is not a job that we can just do on our own. Guy has done an exceptional job, and it's possibly the best job of getting graduates in, because it's something that's very close to me. He loves being a mentor, and he loves bringing people into the industry. And I think the first time I met you, Guy, I'm not 100% certain, was at a careers fair in Cambridge. I was there, obviously recruiting in the inkjet industry, but I believe you were the only person there with a stand. It shouldn't just be Guy. You know, we should have other companies there that are looking. So there is the careers fair. We're in Cambridge, which is the inkjet hub. We could be making more. We should be really getting in touch with as many good graduates as we possibly can as an industry. So I think we need to learn from what Guy's done. And I don't know if you touched on it enough, but you've done so much with Queen's Mary, with all the different universities, probably spanning over 8 years. So these things don't happen overnight. He's laid these foundations, these breadcrumbs for the graduates to follow to get into the industry. And I think we all need to learn from the excellent foundation you've done, and we all need to build on that as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So what specific steps from your perspective and your opinion do people need to take, or can people take? I think you've touched on it a little bit already. So obviously get in touch with Guy if anyone wants to afterwards and have a chat, see what he's been doing. But any specific things that you can think of that you would say, okay, A, B, C, this is what we need to do?
I think whoever's in the business, there's obviously a lot of different size businesses here. We've got small independent businesses like Mark, I can't see him, but hopefully he might be here. We've got larger businesses as well, up to multi-million-pound businesses. But with a smaller independent business, like Guy's business, he can be the mentor, he can be the leader who's taking charge of this. But if it's a larger business, get somebody else in HR, get somebody else in talent acquisition, or if you've not got that infrastructure in place and you can't do it yourself, perhaps outsource it, but someone needs to take that piece to look after that. I also think doing courses, like Patrick said, the year in industry is proving very good, projects, things like that. We just need to do more and build on it as well.
Okay, thank you. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's, a staffing issue as well. Having the time and the resource to obviously lead these young people and educate them and help them train. It's obviously a drain on company resources. But I think, obviously we've found out it's well worth it. You get out what you invest. And now looking at the other side of the coin, what do you think the educational institutions can do? What can they specifically do to help this, to bridge the gap that for people to be able to work in industrial inkjet?
I mean, I think we're lucky to have Patrick here today because he knows about inkjet. But there's a lot of universities where we might not have a Patrick, if you like, or we've had long in the past, haven't we? Other people and we've got Ronan, who unfortunately can't be here, from Cambridge University. But I think it's building these relationships as much as we can, because if you like, their job is to educate the students and to give them options. It's not their job to say go and work in inkjet. What we need to do is make that a visible option for them. And I know speaking to some of the universities, Inkjet is not visible enough. People don't know about Inkjet, and they don't know how wonderful it can be. Like you said, they might say Inkjet, and even my own children that I'm encouraging, I say I can get you a job when you finish university in Inkjet, in engineering, in chemistry. They say, oh Mum, why do I want to do that? Well, they want to do that because, well, they might not want to do that yet, but if they do want to do that in the future, it's to know that it's so diverse. You know, you could be printing on a t-shirt, you could be doing biomedical engineering, you could be doing so many different things, you can be printing on a coffin. You know, it's so diverse. People need to understand, and the jobs are diverse within that as well. And also, students are coming out with a hell of a lot of debt now, and we have a real need. They do want to earn money. Obviously, they want a career, but they want a job. They want to make a living, and you can make a good living in Inkjet.
Thank you. So I guess, you know, it's about having an ambassador maybe in the industry to sort of, like a marketing campaign really, to just sort of raise the whole profile of Inkjet, make people aware, young people, graduates aware of how exciting this business can be. So yes, we'll leave that all up to you and see, you know, where we can take this. But if you want to have a chat with any of these lovely panel members, then they'll be milling around later on. Maybe have a chat with them over beer and see what you can do together to collaborate to raise the profile. So thank you for listening.